This is a comment on the bloodbath that the arrested former president has been talking about. I think he might have missed it. The bloodbath's been going on for years all across the country. I was catching up on my reading about the city of Philadelphia, where I no longer live in, but I live right beside in the suburbs. In 2021, the city issued 52,230 new license to carry permits, an increase of 600% from the prior year.
What year was
that,
did you say?
2021. This is from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Wow.
It's an extensive piece. People every year buy 5,000 to 10,000 gun permits. Now, to clarify, this isn't a permit to buy a gun. This is a permit to carry it out of your house. In the city of Philadelphia,
isn't it a permit to carry it on a concealed basis? I mean, it varies from state to state. But
I'm not entirely clear. Yeah, I'm not entirely clear about that, but concealed or unconcealed, you can't take it out of your house without a permit to carry. Okay. I think they used to call it a concealed permit, but you don't have to holster it and brandish it in any way.
Well, it varies from state to state, as I said, yeah.
Right, but this is not just state to state. This is in the city of Philadelphia. And what's I think important, I don't have a prediction. I'm not a prophet. I don't quite know what to make out of this, but the number is so large. And again, to clarify, this is to carry the gun outside of your house. So the people that were getting this permit knew that they had to get a permit just to buy a handgun. Then they had to get a second permit to take it out of their house, which indicates that they're completely deliberating what it is they're doing. And the article goes on to interview some of the people anecdotally who are black women, and they're not young. They're not like a hothead in their 20s. These are women who are established pillars of the community, for want of a better word. Somebody just like you, Tom, this one woman runs one of those low-powered radio stations in the city. They broadcast. They got a special license to broadcast maybe a mile. And there's a picture of her behind the microphone. And she says, I mean, I don't want to quote the whole thing, but they're sick at the thought that they have to do this, but they are scared for their lives. And just so you understand, again, I don't have any dire prediction. I don't know what to make out of this, but this is how fearful people are. That's quite clear, and I feel the same way. This past week in the city, 4 days in a row, there were nothing short of just slaughters around public transportation. People just standing on the corner waiting for a bus, gunned down, one dead, like another half dozen injured, and then 48 hours later in another section of the city, the exact same thing. 14 and 15-year-olds gunned down. They're still in the hospital. The city is beside themselves at this point.
Yeah.
The people have had it, and I think this is something that has to be processed. And here's the one thing, and I'll share this with you because this is from myself. You remember when Reagan was president, there was a battle in Central America. It was the Contras and the Sandinistas and Guatemala, that whole era.
Yeah.
At one point, Catholic clergy, priests, nuns were being attacked. They were being murdered. Nuns were being raped and killed in villages.
Yep.
The Contra forces wanted to wipe out any source of support for the peasantry because they were trying to quell any kind of
They were trying to make the region safe for American capitalism.
Right. Well, at one point, they were interviewing a priest who had picked up the gun and basically joined the guerrilla forces, and they said, how do you reconcile being a man of God and being in the armed forces of these guerrillas? And he said every day the Contras would come and they'd kill somebody, or they'd burn a house down, or they'd burn the church down, and they'd kill the animal. He says at some point there was like almost no one left in the village. They're killing us. Am I supposed to wait until every person who's decent is dead? who will worship God then?
Right.
The people who committed the slaughter. And I think people, these women in Philadelphia and the men they're getting licensed to carry, they're going to be out on the streets with guns legally. And I can tell you right now, every week there's a report. Somebody tried to hold up a cell phone store. Somebody tried to hold up a guy with his hot dog stand. He took out his gun, his legal gun, and he killed the guy. No charges filed. And Tom, not a protest, not a peep. People have had it, and they know when someone who's a decent person is defending themselves, and they know when someone's a gangster. We can tell the difference.
I get all that, Paul. I totally get it, and we're seeing this more and more around the country. I mean, when you've got 320 million people and 440 million guns, you know, if society goes from fistfights to gunfights, it's just that simple. And you know, the easy solution, as it were, would be to do what Australia did, which is basically ban, you know, semi-automatic weapons, but you know, that ain't going to happen here.
Well, we're going to have to do that because we're going to go through a bloodbath that it's not going to be the one Donald Trump wants. I can tell you that. Yeah. These are 52,000 deliberate people who are not crazies.
No, I perfectly, you know, as the recipient of death threats on a fairly regular basis, I perfectly well understand what you're talking about, Paul. And you know, people have to defend themselves. I'm not opposed to gun ownership. What I'm opposed to is irresponsible and unnecessary gun ownership. When I got licensed as a private detective in Georgia, I got a carry permit. Those were called concealed carry permits in Georgia at that time. I mean, this was back in 1980. You know, we need rational gun laws. We had them in this country at one time. We had an assault weapons ban that George Bush let expire in 2005.
We need voices of reason, and unfortunately, Tom, the voices of the gun merchants and the death merchants are louder and more widely distributed than the voices of reason.
And well-funded. It's an amazingly profitable industry. You know, a weapon that sells for $1,000 costs probably $200–300 to manufacture. It's a very, very, very profitable industry. Paul, I got to move along, but excellent points, well made. Thank you.